Hey guys, this is Melanie Hawk from Why Not Me Academy. Super excited for today's topic. Now, for those of you who don't know, when I started this podcast, my goal was to help people stop talking about their dreams and actually start doing something about it. And for me personally, the way that I was able to actually recognize my dreams and start actually accomplishing them was through real estate investing. Now, this is not a real estate investors podcast. That's not all we talk about, although sometimes I just have some really cool friends and they are helping people around the world, around the country, accomplish their dreams through real estate. And so every once in a while, I will bring one of my friends on. And today was one of those days that we're releasing 2 episodes that are real estate focused on different, very unique ways of getting into the real estate business. Now, today's topic is actually with Jean Guarino. And for those of you who don't know, I run Airbnbs is one of my main passions right now. And I also coach others on how to open Airbnbs using other people's properties. Now, Jean's topic today is similar in that he teaches that you can use other people's property to do what we're going to talk about with him today. But instead of running Airbnbs, guys, he uses other people's properties or purchases his own properties to run assisted living centers. Yes, where he has 6 to 10 seniors living in a home. He runs a business where he gets the staff in there needed. And we're going to talk about all of that on this episode. But for Airbnbs, where I say, like a national average, I don't know. This is just by Melanie. I haven't actually run, numbers. But from what I'm seeing from my students is for Airbnbs, you can look, depending on how luxury you want to go, like that's a whole different thing. But you can hope to and plan to make about $1,000 if you do it right and you do it smart, about anywhere from $700 to $1,500 per month that you're netting. Well, with what Jean's going to talk about today, you can be netting $10,000 a month on one property, and it doesn't even have to be a property you own. And the other thing he talks about is that there is a continual stream of old people that are needing housing. So this stream of leads is going to keep on going. That's not going anywhere. So definitely check out this episode today. Every time I listen to Jean, I always come home to my husband and I'm like, okay, we've got to drop all of our other businesses because this is the way to go. Like, he is just awesome. So stick around and listen and learn about this awesome topic of becoming a real estate investor through assisted living homes. Enjoy. Hey guys, this is Melanie Hawk with Why Not Me Academy. I have Jean Guarino here, who is an expert in a special niche that I want you all to know about. And I've heard Jean speak. I've worked with Jean, and he's amazing. He's amazing at what he does. He lights up a room, but he's got a bunch of stuff going on. But the real powerhouse of it, I really want anybody to hear about, not just investors. So Jean, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just going to jump right in. Jean, tell us a little bit about your backstory, and then we'll dive into what it is you actually do.
Well, I know I have a white beard and I'm an old guy now, but actually I started when I was 18 years old with my first real estate investment. I was a professional musician. We had a small recording studio, record label, and music school. By the time I graduated from high school, we had over 300 students and 5 of the high school teachers working for us. So that was pretty cool.
Really?
So, yeah, we leased a property for 2 years, and that property was older and the landlord wasn't very nice. So we said, we're either shutting it down or we have to get a new place. Looked up the street, saw a for sale sign, and that was the beginning of the real estate career. So we bought that with no money down, the very first property, because we had no money, no credit, no clue. Bought that. We did fix and flip. We moved our business into one. We did another one. First commercial was the age of 25. So I've been doing real estate and entrepreneurship for my entire life, pretty much. But flash forward, it was about 20 years ago when I heard about this, what I do now, this residential assisted living. And when I heard about it, it was about the business opportunity, the money that could be made. But when my own mother needed help, starting about 10 years ago, that's when it became real. That's when the passion really grew. And now I'm so glad I'm here because especially in today's day and age, what's happening now, this residential assisted living concept has become more important, more valuable, more important than ever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, so let's talk about what exactly is assisted living.
Well, and I'm going to throw that residential on the front of it because
Okay.
residential, we use a single family home. So in a neighborhood, a single family home to provide this assisted living. So put some pictures in your mind. There's two parts, real estate and business. The real estate is just a regular single family home, maybe bigger than usual, but in a nice area. The business part is this residential assisted living business. Think a group home for the elderly. Now,
Yeah.
not the Golden Girls, because we all think Golden Girls. It's kind of the
Although that
Golden.
would be fun.
It would be fun, and that's actually a cool business model. But the Golden Girls with help. So with 24/7 caregivers coming in, doing their shift and so on. So it's not nurses, it's not doctors, it's not a hospital, it's not medical situation. It's for people who can't live at home, who need help, who don't want to be alone, need and want to be in a community where there is help available 24/7. But nobody moves into assisted living unless they need assistance.
And I like that you said in a neighborhood, like
Yeah.
it's in a neighborhood. It's not this huge, what you typically see when you're driving on main streets. It's in a neighborhood, but providing this service so that these people can actually feel like they're still in a neighborhood. I know that like in our community, all the cute older elderlies love seeing my kids play out in front. They love seeing walking their dogs and seeing my kids. And so I think that's so awesome to provide this in a neighborhood setting. So but let's talk about what's the difference between assisted living and a nursing home.
Well, it's the medical aspect. So nursing is your keyword there. In a
Okay.
nursing home or a skilled nursing facility, you need to have a registered nurse 24/7 on staff. So that means it's medical. And that's not what we do. If somebody's in our home, and again, not the Golden Girls, those four women took care of each other. Assisted living is where there's somebody helping take care of those activities of daily living, which to define that is everything you and I did after you hit the snooze alarm today. So bathing, dressing, medication management, and so on. Somebody moves into assisted living because they need help with some or many of those things. So the nursing home is the next step that somebody might take if they actually need medical care. Interestingly enough, most people don't, when you think about it, the people that are in your neighborhood walking the dogs and so on, those people are going to live their whole life and probably stay in that house. They're not going to go to a nursing home, or they're probably not going to go to the hospital. They're just going to live it out their life in that home.
Yeah.
But if they need assistance, the homes we provide gives it to them. If they need medical care, they need a nursing home or a hospital.
And would you say, I mean, this is just a random question, but like, are the majority of your, what do you call them? Tenants?
Good point. Nope, not tenants,
Okay.
resident.
Residents. Okay. Your residents, Alzheimer's, dementia, is that a common thing?
We all have some level of dementia.
I know I sure do, especially during pregnancy years.
I've never had that experience. I have forgotten my sunglasses on the top of my head, or literally holding my phone saying, "Where is my phone?" So,
Yeah.
but a lot of seniors will be facing that, and that's a niche inside the assisted living that we do.
Yeah.
But everybody, all the caregivers are trained to some extent on how to work with somebody with memory care issues, brain change, as we call it. And some of those homes are specifically memory care specific homes.
Okay. So this, like, if I was just an everyday whatever and thought, I want to get into investing, this would seem like it would have so many rules and regulations. Are there like a ton? Tell us more about how that looks in the rules and regulations part of it.
Sure. And I love your perspective, because if you're saying, if I was just getting started, which I think is what you and I need to do with years of experience and success. And I think the first thing you need to do is get the end in mind. What is the end result that you really want to accomplish? And if the end result is, I want really strong, let's say $10,000 a month in residual income.
Yeah.
Well, now how do we back up and get there? You're always going to have to work. I find it interesting when somebody says, "Oh, wholesale or fix and flip, no work there." You've never done it. Okay. So the
Yeah.
reality is there's always some work. There's always some effort. The question is, are you going to do something you're going to get paid once? Fix and flip wholesale is transactional. I'm in, I'm out, I'm unemployed. I got to go do it again. What we do is we create a home that creates a business that creates significant residual income forever. You can sell the whole business if you want and stop the cash flow, but forever. So yes, there are rules and regulations. There's no federal rules, there's state rules. And then locally, each county or city is going to have some more levels and rules and so on. So I love the fact that there's some barriers to entry. There's people who are just going to say, "That's it. There's an application to fill in. Not going to do it."
Oh,
Great.
yeah.
We don't want everybody in the business. We do need customers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh,
there are rules and regulations, but we teach you how to get through all that anyway.
Yeah, and I love that you and I are one of the reasons I feel like we really connect is because we both understand the power of that residual, that
Yeah.
monthly income. And that's why I don't flip houses anymore, because I was sick and tired of waiting months for a huge paycheck and then, all right, let's start it again, even though like all my work was down the drain, instead of with residential assisted living and with Airbnbs, that type of housing, using housing, and sometimes even other people's houses, depending on what model you're using, to set up a residual. And I think that's, I mean, obviously we could geek out on that for a long time. But you threw out the number $10,000. Tell us realistically, how much money could you really make doing this?
So I'm going to ask those of you who are listening, pull out a pad and a pen. I'm going to give you some numbers right now. The average in America today that individuals are paying to live in assisted living is over $4,000 per month per person. In a home, you might have 10 of those residents. So this isn't warehousing grandma. They're very comfortable. It's a larger home, but 10 residents at 4,000 is potential gross income of $40,000 per month. Now, your expenses, including everything, the caregivers is half of the gross income goes out to the people taking care of the people, but the rent, the food, everything involved might be 25 to 30,000. Let's call it the 25 because the 30,000 I want to include vacancy in there. You're not always
Yeah.
going to be full. So
Yeah.
25,000 of that 40,000 leaves 15 vacancy, 10,000 a month. Now I go through that in a lot more detail, but the point is from the top to the bottom, I'm looking for 20 to 30% of the gross income to come to the bottom line. That's a well-run assisted living home.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not done with you yet. So don't think that I'm done with you. But since you talked about it, because are so many different steps to it, where can they hear more about this? Like, this is like such an
Sure.
in-depth thing. Like I said, like it sounds like cool, and it's like, oh yeah, but there are so many rules and regulations and everything. So where would we even
Yeah.
learn more about this?
So I'm going to give you, actually, I put this together for you. So it's a really easy website for people to go. I'm going to give you a copy of my brand new book that just came out. There's some webinars available as well as a place to call, but it's simply RAL101.com.
Okay.
RAL101.com.
Okay. And that's where, I love that you give away so much, to see if this is even something that you want to do, like all those free webinars are super, super helpful. How can an investor or an entrepreneur take advantage of this opportunity?
Yeah, when we say real estate and business, most entrepreneurs or investors, what they're saying is, I want the real estate, that part where there's an asset, there's some passive income, and I'm not involved in the business side. So the key for you, if you want to own the real estate and lease it too, you want to find that tenant first. So that tenant, who are they? It's the operator of that residential assisted living. It's not the resident, the grandma, grandpa, mom, dad, whoever. It's the person who's going to lease the house from you, who's going to operate this REL, and they're going to go ahead and operate that whole business. So you want to find them first and ask them, what do you want? Where do you want it? What location? Don't just buy it and then put an ad out and say, come to me. That's not how this works. It's
Yeah.
location, location, location.
Yeah. Okay. And so for our listeners who don't see his hands, because on our YouTube channel, we'll see the hands, but I love how he talks about it. It's two separate businesses. You have the real estate portion of it, but really, I think in this business, it's really heavy on the business side of running, the house and that sort of thing. So, I mean, you run a bunch of these. How
Yeah.
often do you, as the big head honcho, even go to these places anymore? Like, can this really become a passive thing?
I designed how I'm involved in this from the very beginning to do just what I'm doing now. The only times really I ever go to the homes are when we do our live trainings. So we do the live trainings, people come, we get on a bus, we go see the homes. That may be the first time that I've seen it in 6 weeks or 7 weeks.
Oh my
There's
gosh.
occasions where I'll stop by and say hello, but I'm not there, and I'm so glad you asked because a lot of times people think, if I own this business, what if a caregiver calls off? I'm going to have to go in. Hold it. If you own McDonald's, are you going to run behind the fry machine to take over? No, you have a manager who's going to find that replacement or do it themselves, but they're not going to call the owner no, that's not
Yeah.
how it works. So I own the business. It doesn't own me. So I rarely go there at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess we should mention there are those kind of business owners that do still, they've created a job for themselves. They've
Yeah.
created a 20, not even a 9 to 5. They've created a 24/7 job for themselves. But
Yeah.
this is not that model. This is definitely both of the
Not
types
the way I
of,
do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
there's almost 30,000 of these homes right now across America, which blows people away when I say that.
Yeah.
Most of them are what I call mom and pops, which is the kids moved out, they've got some extra bedrooms. They say, hey, why don't we move into the back bedroom? We'll make some extra food, do some extra laundry, invite some seniors in. They pay us $3,000-4,000 a month. We get 4 of them. Our mortgage is paid, and we've got income. What they don't realize is they can't take a day off. They're taking care of people 24/7, and it's enough to pay the bills and give them a little income. And that is not what we teach. This
Yeah.
is location first. We put the team in place. We move on to the next project, and it's a system. It's a process that we teach.
Okay, so let's talk about location because
Yeah,
people might see your pictures and be like, okay, well, Arizona, I mean, that makes sense, right? Like Arizona. But
sure.
can this really be done anywhere? Like, what type of location should people, what type of house should people be looking for?
Sure. So let's talk big picture. Most people, when they retire, they don't just say, okay, I'm 65, time to move to Florida or Texas or Arizona. That's not what happens. The reality is, most people, when they get older, want to be with their kids, their grandkids, and they stay in place. So if they're in Idaho, they're going to stay in Idaho, not move to Arizona. If they move to Arizona, chances are, if and when they're getting to closer to the end, they're going to move back to Idaho to be with the kids and the grandkids anyway.
Yeah.
Now, the location, any state is fine. Certainly, there's more of these in warmer states for obvious reasons, but a single family home in a nice neighborhood. When I say nice, it's about the demographics. It's not the mountaintop, the ocean front. Don't spend the money there. It's I want to be near a lot of people who are like me. 50, 60 years old, parents 80, 90 years old, above average income, because I'm the one who's going to pay the bill. I want them to be close by so I can go visit every day, once a week, spend a few hours, but I don't want it to be an hour away. So you want to be close to the right people who have the parents that are going to be taken care of inside these homes.
Okay, so every time I hear you speak, Gene, like every time, like afterwards, I gotta go back to my husband and be like, no, like because I'm a little bit of a serial
Focus,
entrepreneur, and I'm
focus.
like, oh my gosh, he's right. Like I've got to get into this because it does. It makes so much sense. And I'm always like, I just talked to Gene, like calm me down like before I go start another business because it sounds so awesome. And I've taken the course and there's just so it's real. Like this is needed. And
It's
old
true.
people aren't going anywhere. Like those are going to keep on coming. So, but let's talk about like the size of, is there a size of house that it's like, it doesn't make sense for
Sure.
if you're just going to be able to put 4 people in there? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Is there a size?
Absolutely. So, number one, single level would be preferable to multi story. Obviously, because if a senior has mobility issues, single level just takes that out of the picture. Knowing that many of these homes across the country are multi story, but it mobility issues. So, single level is better. Bigger is better. Now, I'm going to give you a rule of thumb that we use at the REL Academy: 300 square feet of living space, not bedroom, 300 square feet of living space per person is a beautiful, comfortable home. So a 3,000 square foot home could comfortably have 10 or 12 of these residents. Now, when I say 10 residents, that's the maximum we can have in Arizona. Some states, Texas, it's 16. Others are no limit. Florida's 21. Some states are 6. So you need to know the limits, but more is better. But if you go, above 16, it's like, wow, this is less like a home and more different. If you only have 5 or 6, you better be charging a lot of money to those 5 or 6 people in order for the financials to work. So the optimum number is that 10 or 12 or 15 and 16, and that's because the caregiver ratio. We're required to have enough caregivers to take care of the residents that we have.
Yeah.
Same thing that Brookdale, Sunrise, Atria, same thing. So we use 5 to 1. So
Okay.
1 caregiver to 5 residents, that roundabout. A big box facility might use 15 to 1 or 20 to 1. That's during the day. And they may have 2 people on staff at night.
Mm.
So even though that's legal for them, I don't think that's good. So we provide a much better caregiver to staff ratio, caregiver to resident ratio rather, and that's a really important part of what we do.
Yeah. Okay. So, but then you're talking like when you're talking like average Joe Schmo is like, oh my gosh, that's a huge house. Like, how am I going to pay for that? Do you arbitrage? Like, do you rent first, or do you have to be able to buy this big old fat mansion house that I can't even, like, I don't know if I can even afford to live. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. So You certainly can lease the house from somebody else. And think about that house, the larger than average house. So if the average house in your area is 2,000 square feet, and this one we're talking about is 4,000 square feet, if you as an investor were to buy that and try to charge enough rent to make it cash flow, probably can't do it.
Yeah.
But you renting that house from them, you probably can get a better deal on it. But here's the other part. I always tell people you can charge twice. You can get twice the market rent because the person who's going to operate the business is going to be making so much money, they can pay you double the rent. So let's just say, for instance, that house that is 4,000 square feet is normally renting for $3,500. And somebody says, I'll pay you $7,000 a month. Well, that person who owns the house says, rock and roll, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I want a 5-year lease with 5-year renewals. I don't want to get booted out. So 5-year lease with double the market rent. Most real estate investors I know are like, sign me up for that program. So you can lease that and that would be fine. Have an option to buy if you do. But the other way is to buy it. So buy a house, renovate it, and so on. Another one is to build it from scratch. All of those different pieces can be funded and financed. We teach 7 different ways to fund this project itself. There's all kinds of ways to do it. Or potentially you could buy an existing one that's in your home area now, where you can find it, negotiate it, and purchase it now.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So when, after the first time I heard you speak, I was like driving home and like, I saw like a preschool that was like going out of business, and I like went and, the back door was open and they had ramps going all the way down. Like it was 3 levels, but they already had like ramps and everything. And I went in and like, it was a little bit of trespassing, but like the door was open, but it was like definitely abandoned. And the preschool,
worry.
right?
The fuzz ain't listening right now. Don't worry.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure that like, and yeah, we're good. Okay. No judgment. Right. But I went in and I was like looking, I was like sketching it out. And my husband's like, where are you? Like your meeting ended like an hour ago. But like, I was like looking at it. And anyways, the preschool had been abandoned for like a year. And I was like, oh man, I'm going to rock this place. I'm ready. I'm turning it in. And then there was like a dead raccoon in there and stuff. And I was like, oh, never mind, I'm out. But anyways.
It was empty. They had at least one tenant.
Right. I mean, they did have one tenant. He wasn't paying very much rent, but yeah. But I love that you also talked about, a single family is ideal, but just make sure that there's enough parking, right? I assume there's
these seniors in the homes, they don't have a car that they're driving at all. So it's really just a normal house, normal parking. Parking is always good.
Or elevator accessible if it's more than single family, more than just ranch, right?
If you have an elevator, that's awesome, but most residential homes don't. But really upscale residential homes do. You don't need an elevator. Seniors, my grandmother went up her stairs to her bedroom until she was 100 years old.
Oh my gosh.
It was her exercise to go up and down the stairs. Eventually, they moved the bed down to the dining room downstairs. But if a senior is going to be going up to a bedroom, as long as they're mobile, not a problem at all. You could do those chair lifts, those little chairs that glide up this. You could do an elevator, which is, if you have a really nice home and worth doing, you can do that. In a home, that may be $20,000 to $35,000 for an elevator in a home. Again, guys, you don't have to do that. That's just a really nice home if you wanted to do that.
Yeah. Now let's talk about the night staff. Where, like, you have night staff. Do they get to sleep? Where, and if so, where?
They better not sleep on the job, right?
Okay.
Some homes operate with, they have somebody who lives in the house, so a live-in caregiver who's asleep at night. I've done that in different times in different homes, but what we do is shift work. So somebody comes in during the day, and at the end of that day, they leave and go home, and somebody else comes in for the night shift. The night shift, their main responsibility is to take care of the residents if and when they get up at night. Then there's all kinds of things to clean, prepare, get ready for the next day. So they're being paid, they're on staff and on duty all night, and they're awake.
Are all of your properties prepare all 3 meals, or are some of them still able to do that on their own?
No, the caregivers provide and prepare the food for them. And so the manager will get the supplies in the house. The caregivers themselves pretty much are the ones who prepare and serve the food. The residents, everything's taken care of. Think, Club Med, where they come in and all of their furnishing is there, all of their laundry is done, all of their food is served, all their personal needs are met. But these people need that help. They're not just there, with servants all around them. They're there getting a service, and that's that residential assisted living.
Well, what a special thing. I love, I just love seniors. And like in
Oh,
high school, I loved ballroom dance, and none of the boys my age like ballroom dance. So every week I would go to, they would have a seniors at the senior center, they would have a ballroom dance hour. And I would
nice.
go and tango with these 80, 90-year-old men. And like, there's just such a sweetness about them, but also about with their caretakers. I feel like what a special place that each of these properties must feel like, um, because there's so much love, there's so much care. Anybody who takes on that as a profession has got to have a little bit of saint in them. But I bet there's just a special feel. I'd really love to come and see some of your properties, because I think that this is just awesome what you do. So,
Well,
um,
I love what you just shared because you're somebody who has that passion for the elderly. And I bet they absolutely love that ballroom dancing with you many years ago. And I know of guys in our home. This one guy, Danny, comes to mind where he would sneak out to go to places to dance. And he was just always trying to dance. And that was his thing. And it's great because you can create the home and you can create that environment. Some homes, be frank, it's just like anything. Some homes, you go to them and they're just not active, not doing much. It doesn't feel really good. Other homes you go to, people are dancing and there's more activities and there's life and there's energy and there's creativity. You can make it anything you want. It's a great way to serve other people as you're making a lot of money.
yeah. Well, and I love that you said that you can kind of control that. Like if and when, let's just say if and when, because if I keep hanging out with Gene, it's gonna happen. I'm just saying. But if and when this happens, like mine, like for sure, I would love to have activities with them and bingo, whatever, like to provide that loving space for these grandmas and grandpas. And I just love that. Now, in my business, of Airbnbs, we've had a bunch of issues arise with coronavirus, but at the same time, who hasn't? Like, who,
Right?
unless you have stock in Zoom, there's very few people that aren't going to be touched by this coronavirus. But what are you guys doing in your homes to up your protection of these wonderful
Yeah.
residents?
The reality is that most of the things that they've said, wash your hands, don't cough, do this, are things that we've already been doing since day one in a care home like this, where we do those things anyway. The
Yeah,
biggest change has been, and unfortunately, the idea of isolation. All right. We can't have visitors come in at all. I mean,
yeah,
think about that. What you just said, I would love to go to those centers and let's go dance for an hour. Well, at the moment, you can't do that
yeah,
because of this those are the protocols. That's the fear that's out there at this moment in time. The reality is those seniors are incredibly safe. They just don't want germs and viruses to come through the front door. So I get that. So that's the biggest thing. And what it spawned, see, there's always a yin and a yang, a plus and a minus. What it spawned is those people who weren't doing things like we're doing. This
yeah,
Zoom session, this recording of. Now the kids are doing this. They're
yeah,
calling in, they're Zoom sessioning in, they're doing Facebook Live or whatever it is, FaceTime on their phone so that they can communicate. There's people that are writing letters that haven't done that in years. So sending it in, seniors love that, getting it back. There's people who are outside the windows and, waving and so on to the seniors that at least they're getting to see. So that
yeah.
isolation is one of those key areas where it's in a care home anyway, it's kind of prevalent. So that's been one of the biggest changes. All the other protocols, they've heightened a little bit, but it's pretty much the same as we've always done.
Yeah. The other day I took my kids, we rode our bikes over to my parents' house and we played tic-tac-toe through the windows on the white with the whiteboard markers.
There
So
you go. Do that.
um Jean, I love talking to you. You have so much information. Again, tell us where they can come find the webinars and get some of these free trainings to find out more about this awesome topic.
Yeah, and I love talking with you as well. It's a kindred spirit in a different, niche of what we do. So
Yeah.
I put this together for you again. Write it down, RAL101.com. RAL101.com. You can get a copy of my latest book, download it for free, or go to Amazon and buy it. Love that even more. But get it for free. We've got a series of webinars, and you can just call us to discover if this is a good fit for you.
Perfect. 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 Warning, guys. Even after the first webinar, I was like, I'm in. Like, this is awesome. So, just a heads up, but you will learn some great stuff and it'll get your mind going. So, thanks again, Jean, for sticking around with us and giving us the time.
Let me just finish with one thought, if I could.
Yeah.
Everybody, I'm just going to say this clearly, everybody, I guarantee, is going to get involved in assisted living one way or the other. You're either going to own the real estate, the business, or both, or you or a family member may be lying in a bed writing in a check to somebody who does. So
Yeah.
right now you have a choice, and right now you have time to learn these things. No better time, but don't make excuses.
Yeah.
And if you want to do something to really bless your family, own at least one of these homes. So if you or a family member ever needs this kind of help, which 70% of all seniors will, you can move right into the master bedroom and live for free. Pass on a blessing to your kids and not a burden. There.
Okay. Well, now I've got another question.
Oh,
So, I mean, like with me, I'm like start and scale. I mean, but you're right. Like with this one, like you just do one, and this is just a great one stream of income. So, I mean, is it worth it even to? I feel like with my first Airbnb, I learned so much that I'm like, okay, now I got to do this the right,
yeah.
like get better and better with each one. But with
Yeah.
this, like really, like it's worth it just to do the one.
Well, it is, but it is just like you said. It's kind of like kids. I mean, those of us who have kids, the first one, they drop the pacifier. It's like code red, boil.
Yeah.
Second one, you're like, 5-second rule, boom. Third one, you're like, you don't even slow down. Hey, you pick it up, you dropped it. Right. So with
Yeah.
these homes, same thing. First one is hard. Second one is easier. By the time you get it down, it's a process, it's a system. And I will say it's easier to operate 3 of these in one area than just one. The
Mm.
manager can oversee 3 properties. The caregivers can be shared between the economies of scale. So if you're going to do it right. Don't go small. Let me dip my toe in. That's a mistake. And if you're going to do it and scale it, 1 home is fine, 3 homes is fine. But we have some students right now, their goal is 100 homes, package it together and sell it off to the hedge fund for hundreds of millions of dollars. So it's happening. The opportunity is huge.
That's awesome. Guys, it's happening. You can choose if you want to be a part of it, but why not you to do something like this? So awesome. So thanks again, Gene.
You're
You're
welcome.
awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.